It was in the early hours of the morning. I had just arrived at the office after a rough night of barely sleeping. There was something strange in Melissa's voice the night before, some hollow cadence to her words that I couldn't quite place. She had come home late again, blaming traffic and a delayed meeting. But her hair was styled differently, and her perfume was stronger than usual, like she had scrubbed off something else. I noticed, but I didn't say a word. At work, my friend Jackson stopped me by the coffee machine. "Hey, Ed, you got a minute?" His voice was too low, too careful. I nodded, thinking it was about the permits for the Bradshaw project. He led me into an empty conference room and closed the door behind him. That's when I felt it. Something was coming. Something ugly. I saw Melissa. Yesterday. At noon. With someone else, he said, avoiding my eyes. It wasn't a business meeting. It was personal. They were close. I sat there in silence for a long time after Jackson left. My mind reeled, but my body remained frozen. A coldness settled in my chest, something sharp and surgical. Part of me wanted to believe Jackson was mistaken, that Melissa was innocent, that she had a good explanation, something I'd laugh about later. But the other part, the one that had noticed the late nights, the forced smiles, the cold distance in bed, knew better. I left work early that day, something I never do. That evening, Melissa walked in at 7:43 p.m., smelling of wine and roses. She kicked off her heels like always, hung up her coat, and kissed me on the cheek as if nothing was wrong. I watched her move through our kitchen like a stranger in a familiar place, her laugh too light, her smile too perfect. I didn't say anything. Not yet. I didn't want to fight. I wanted the truth. And I knew she'd lie if I asked her now. The tension between us became unbearable within days. Melissa started staying out later, claiming it was client dinners or marketing events I knew weren't real. Her lies became sloppier, but her confidence only grew. She didn't think I suspected a thing. But things came to a head 2 weeks later. I came home early one afternoon. Something told me I should. The house was too quiet. I parked down the street and entered through the back, footsteps soft on the hardwood. And then I heard it, laughter. Male. Coming from the bedroom. My bedroom. Our bedroom. The door was open just enough. I didn't walk in. I didn't scream. I didn't make a sound. I watched. Just long enough to see her lying there with a man I'd never seen before. Young. Smug. Tattoos on his back. She looked happy. Not guilty. Not even surprised. She didn't know I saw. I backed out of the house, heart pounding in my ears, tears burning down my face. That moment broke something in me. Over the next month, I crafted a plan. I began by reaching out to her father, Howard, a strict ex-Navy man who valued honor and despised deceit. We were on decent terms, but I made sure to deepen the bond. I offered to help him with renovations on his lake house, took him out to a Red Sox game, even helped him set up a birthday surprise for Melissa's mom. Then one evening over drinks, I let it slip. "I think Melissa might be seeing someone else," I said, voice low, trembling like I was struggling to hold it in. His face tightened. I didn't show him evidence that night. I let the doubt fester. I knew Howard, he'd confront her. And he did. Melissa came home furious days later, slamming doors and calling me a manipulative bastard. She accused me of trying to turn her parents against her. I played dumb. "I don't know what you're talking about." She stormed out and didn't come back that night. The next morning, she blamed everything on misunderstandings and miscommunications, claiming Howard twisted her words. But the damage was done. Her parents started pulling back. They stopped inviting her to family dinners. Her mother stopped calling. Her father didn't reply to her texts. She cried once, sitting on the porch, thinking I couldn't hear. I did. I moved on to her workplace next. Melissa worked at a boutique marketing firm, a place full of tight-knit coworkers and office politics. I created a fake email account and sent anonymous tips to her boss, attaching doctored screenshots that hinted she was leaking client data. It was enough to trigger an internal investigation. They didn't fire her, but they suspended her pending a full review. She came home that day in tears, shaking, muttering something about a jealous coworker trying to sabotage her. I made sure she didn't see the full scope of the destruction. I let her believe each crisis was isolated, unconnected. I encouraged her to talk to me about her stress, played the caring husband, the supportive partner. I told her I still believed in her, even when no one else did. She started depending on me again, clinging to me at night, whispering apologies in the dark for being distant lately, blaming the pressure, the burnout. It made me sick, but I endured it. I wanted her to fall further before the final blow. I knew the man she was cheating with now. His name was Kyle, 28. Worked at some startup downtown. I followed him a few times, learned his schedule, his habits. He was cocky, careless, the kind of guy who thought he was invincible. I didn't confront him directly. Not yet. I found his girlfriend. Yes, he had one. Her name was April. I sent her everything, photos, videos, texts I had secretly copied from Melissa's phone. Her world burned that same night. Kyle called Melissa at 3 a.m., screaming, cursing, blaming her for ruining everything. She had no idea how April found out. I watched her from the hallway, clutching her phone in shock, mascara smeared down her face. I didn't tell her anything, I swear, she cried. He hung up. Melissa didn't leave the house for 3 days after that. She barely spoke. She barely ate. I pretended to be concerned, but I was studying her. I wanted to see how much she could take. And I wasn't done pushing. I thought I had it all under control. Every piece was in place. Melissa was crumbling. Everything she cared about slipping through her fingers. I was winning. But what I didn't anticipate, what I never saw coming, was how far she'd go and cornered. One night, just as I was preparing the final blow, a public unraveling of her lies through a carefully crafted email blast to her entire firm, her friends, even her parents, I came home to find the house dark. No lights. No music. No Melissa. Her car was in the driveway, but the front door was slightly ajar. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. Something was off. I stepped inside, calling her name. Silence. Then I heard it, a quiet sob, low and broken, coming from the living room. I walked in and found her sitting on the floor, clutching a folder in her lap. Her eyes were wild, rimmed with red. The folder was open. Inside were printed screenshots, photos, notes. My notes. Everything I had collected against her. Somehow, she had found it all. I know what you did, she whispered, voice shaking. You ruined my life. My job, my friends, my family. It was all you. My mouth went dry. I tried to speak, to explain something, anything, but she stood up fast, her body trembling with rage. You wanted to break me? You did. Congratulations. But you're not walking away clean. She pulled out her phone and hit play. My voice filled the room. A recording. Me, on the phone with a private investigator, detailing every lie she told, every step of my plan. She had bugged my office. Somewhere along the way, Melissa had stopped being a victim and started fighting back. What followed was a whirlwind. The next morning, I was called into the office. Someone had sent the recordings anonymously to HR. A formal investigation started. I was suspended. Melissa, somehow, managed to spin her story, playing the part of the mentally abused wife. She cried to her parents, told them I'd manipulated them into hating her. She showed Sarah my fake messages. Slowly, terrifyingly, she clawed her way back up.